Good morning, my garden friends. It's the last day of January, the 31st, and we had one night on Sunday. It actually got down to 32 on my thermometer on the backyard. It might have been pretty close to that or even colder if it was out in the yard, but this was the sensors right up against the house. And so I wanted to show you what we lost or what we didn't lose. Some of the things I took inside. I have 4 trays that I have different greens in. The first tray here in the front was was great. I mean, last night was down to 35, and I didn't really lose anything that I saw. But this is called Mesclun, and it's a type of greens. And then right up from there we have giant Japanese red mustard greens that are also just a prolific grower. And I'm sorry, there's a gentleman who cuts grass in the neighborhood, and so he takes his riding mower and drives up and down the street rather than moving his truck. Anyway, these are French, it's a carrot, and it's called Parisienne, and they are just tiny little buttons of a carrot, and you can see they're just coming up. And then back here is the second tray of the giant Japanese red mustard greens, and planted at the same time. But how funny that one, let me just step back here and show you. The one was on this side of the of my step, and this one was over here on this side. So you can see, amazing the difference. Same soil, same seeds, same amount of time. But the fact that this guy was over here, just a little bit of shade, and all I get here, I have, I'm actually facing west. I have the sun coming up off my back here over my head, and so I get the morning sun from probably about 9 till noon here. And so those only 3 hours, 4 hours of direct sunlight, and the difference between sun on and sun off. But anyway, back to the freeze. So here's what didn't make it. You can see this tomato plant. This is the Everglades tomato, and we actually took and covered it with frost cloth. You can see what's underneath it. I mean, part of it didn't make it. You can see this part that didn't make it, and yet you have parts that did make it and look like they're just fine. My gardenia here is suffering from is that chlorosis, and I don't know, I need to get some iron and treat it. Everything else seems to have pretty much handled the cold. Liriope here in the front doesn't seem to mind it at all, and yet you can see that this is coleus. These were volunteers that came up, and you can see they're dead pretty much, but had I left it in the ground, it might have come back. But coleus for me is like a weed. It will come back on its own, and you can see some back there that has died from the frost as well. But everything else, Gwendolyn made it through it with flying colors, as she always does. This is azaleas. The azaleas got some rain a few weeks ago, and all of a sudden that triggered it into thinking that it was spring and time to start blooming. This is milkweed here in the front. This is milkweed. I'll just show you the bloom. And yet, boy, I'm sure not seeing any butterflies around, and I can only imagine it's that cold. A little bit of impatience, still hanging on. My shrubs down there are just fine. Everybody just, wasn't bothered at all. The aloe we did take into the garage, as well as the as well as the jade plants. I have 4 jade plants back there. I'm sorry, I think I'm going to have to cut this short because these guys are trying to get their job done. And the crepe myrtle is it's almost time to cut it back again and begin again. The elm tree has, of course, lost all of its blooms, all of its leaves. The penches that I did plant have really just taken a break. I think I very well may just pull these out and start again on that. And coming over here, I pulled out just about most of the stuff I had planted down here. But I wanted to show you these tomato plants. These are the Everglades tomatoes. And they weren't covered. They weren't covered for 32 degrees. And yet they just seem to have, look at the blossoms. They're everywhere, these blooms. Blooms are everywhere. And the ones on the side of the house are still, I don't see anything. I don't see any little red jewels, do you? But anyway, I think we really fared well. I would have thought the bougainvillea, in years past, we've tried covering it, and when we do, we end up having more damage to it than just letting it go. You can see here, look. You can see some of these tips got frozen, but this will just get trimmed off, and I think it'll be fine. So anyway, I just wanted to show you that everything looks great, and I promise to bring you back for more when we start to plant, and we get to see what pretty things we can put in the ground. Oh, that's a couple avocados, and those are cranberry hibiscus let me just step up there. That's that's a tomato plant, but that's a little cranberry hibiscus where the leaves actually taste like cranberries, really quite good. There's a couple more coleus that just went to seed and they just didn't make it. But anyway, so I hope you guys fared well. Those of you who live in Florida and were traumatized by the thought of a freeze. Sometimes I think Mother Nature, it's kind of best to leave her go and let her toughen out and toughen up. So anyway, garden what you've got. I hope to see you all real soon. If you like my content, I hope you'll subscribe and ring the bell, and come back and see me again soon. Take care now. Bye-bye.